please reach out at messagemyhub@gmail.com.
Things that we can relate to each other on. If that conversation goes somewhere with depth, create conversation amongst people who may not have ever had that conversation otherwise. Things that we can relate to each other on. If that conversation goes somewhere with depth, I'm only interesting because the people I know are interesting. And it's time that I share that gift with the world. It's to create conversation amongst people who may not have ever had that. Hello folks, and welcome to the show where we realize that heated debates, if done properly, could be how we argue our way to a better tomorrow. So look at the person next to you and think of the most tactful way to tell them that their latest statement was dumb as hell, and join me in changing the world, right here on the most interesting, informative, and funny podcast ever, The Hub. I'm your host, Brandon Bourne, and this is where we have real conversations with real people. Thank you for tapping back into your favorite corner of the internet, and I for one am thrilled to have you here to join me. 7 episodes in, and what a ride it's been. I'm truly proud of where this show has come from and where it's headed. The growth is real, y'all. Not just how the episodes sound, but in how I've grown as a host. Podcasting is no easy thing, but it's been rewarding. To my guests so far, you've each taught me something, whether it's perspective, patience, or just how to keep up with people that are way more intelligent than I am. You've shaped the show into something that I am proud to share with the world. Now, it's been a while, so let's hit up some headlines. Here's a few things happening in the world as well as here in Colorado. Now, we know there's never any shortage of Trump news, but it's so damn fun to report. So here goes. No Kings protests have sprung up across the nation. The question is, are they protesting the deportation of illegal immigrants or simply using it as a forum to shed a little hate on the Donald? Discuss. Talk amongst yourselves. The Supreme Court just dropped a major ruling upholding Tennessee's ban, which denies certain medical treatments for transgender minors with gender dysphoria. This is big, but not over. It basically knocks the decision back down to the states in order to coordinate the laws. All that means is that if you do have a strong opinion on the matter, you better pay attention to your local elections. In sports news, the NBA Finals are almost over. We have OKC up 3-2 in the series and heading to Indiana for Game 6. And in the NHL, the Florida Panthers violently snatched Lord Stanley's Cup for the second year in a row, seemingly unstoppable and in convincing fashion, taking the series 4-2 and making it all look easy. Here in town, there was a 3-year-old in Aurora that was rushed to the hospital with a gunshot wound, and there continues to be violence all throughout the state. I share these things only to say we have got to do better, y'all. Denver's annual Juneteenth festival just passed. For my ill-informed Caucasian listeners, this is a celebration which highlights the effective end of slavery, namely when the information reached African Americans in Galveston, Texas, informing them of their freedom. It was only 2 years later, but who's counting? Wildfire season is in full swing, so prep your pad so you don't get sad. And a huge shout out to our brave firefighters and volunteers. In a little local me news, the Boulder 10K just passed May 31st and I ran it, y'all. 2 pukes later, but I'm still here. YouTube.com at messagemyhub if you'd like to witness that debacle firsthand. In all honesty, I'm super proud that I made it in a decent time, and later we'll discuss how today's guest was actually a catalyst behind that particular bad life choice of mine. Thank you, Jadon. Where are my nerds at? Because in Colorado Springs, a semi-truck was robbed of some valuable cargo, namely millions of dollars in Nintendo Switches. Imagine all the grown man babies who will be forced to go outside and face the sunlight. Be brave, y'all. Be brave. Speaking of brave, I wish that I had the guts to stand up to my ex-wives, or at least that kid at Burger King who stares me down with contempt when I ask for an extra ketchup, much less an entire music industry while performing at the Super Bowl in front of the leader of the free world who just happens to disagree with everything you stand for. But I'm also not. Dear Kendrick, I know you've got Pulitzer Prizes and platinum plaques, but hear me out. What you don't have, in the immortal words of Tupac, is a friend like me. Someone who's less starstruck than your mom when you come in smelling like weed to the family reunion. Now, your gift of wordplay and ability to wrap real life into something powerful yet poetic can bring a man to tears. At the same time, the ambiguity with which you speak can be difficult for the layman to digest. And to those of us who have ears to hear, we beg the question of whether you mean what you say or are simply content with knocking a fortified thug off of his perch. I, for one, am truly interested to find out if your mission is solely for the top spot or if actual enlightenment of the populace is the plan. I'm as militant as any brother out there, but I also know that there's no victory in becoming like our captors, a people so full of themselves and comfortable in their agenda that they pretend the rest of the world's problems don't even exist. So I've got a mic, I've got questions, and I've got deep respect for your voice, art, and all that you do. If you'd ever be so kind as to join me here, I'll bring considerate conversation, and maybe we could even share a freestyle. So whenever you're ready, the hub will be waiting, humble and hopeful. Be peace, brethren. Conversation with K-Dot about art brings me to my next guest, who's the pure definition of the word. And just in case you don't believe me, let's define what it means. Artist. Someone who uses creativity to communicate truth, beauty, or soul. My guest today fits that to a T. He's a student pastor and a hand-poked tattoo artist, as well as a barista. Basically the holy trinity of cool. Now, it's not often you'll find me in awe or admiration of a man far my junior, but if there is to be an exception to any rule, he's it. I'm both excited and proud to introduce my friend and partner in anything I can convince him to participate, Jadon Tanguma. Welcome to the Hub.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. The Trinity of cool. I like that. However, I feel like if you remove the tattoo artist part, it just becomes like a, just like a nice American Christian cliche of a barista youth pastor, you know what I mean?
Which is equally as interesting.
Yeah, it's I feel like without the tattoo artist part, it's just like, oh, this is some, Christian college kid who got a degree in youth ministry and now is a barista part-time because his youth pastor job doesn't pay enough. But throw the tattoo in there and it gets a little bit more interesting.
Yeah, it definitely throws a little badass into the conversation.
It has to. I couldn't be too cliche,
Definitely, and we'll get to that later. The whole non-cliche youth pastor thing.
Yeah, it's there.
When it comes to those three things, your holy trinity, actually, what came first?
Oh man, I was super involved in my youth group when I was in middle and high school. The church I grew up in, the youth group was just high school. So after you got out of middle school is when you essentially went to the youth group. But my parents were really close with our youth pastors. They kind of mentored them. And so I spent a lot of time with them. And then, sometimes they would let me come into the youth group if there was no other middle school kids around. And I just got really close to them, and they actually left the church as soon as I went into the youth group. Just had a falling out with the church, but I still stayed really close to them and just loved them. And once we got a new youth pastor, I was super involved. And then I got involved in an organization called Young Life when I was in high school, and I had leaders there, and I just loved it. And it was something that I kind of knew that I was gonna do or be part of forever. And even as a student, at my church and in Young Life, I was very hands-on. I was always trying to figure out how to help. I was bringing kids. I was, showing up early, staying late. That's just what I did. And so that's for sure what came first. And then, I guess I've always liked tattoos, but never did I dream that I would be tattooing ever. So that one was just kind of like a surprise.
Did you like drawing though?
Yeah, I grew up drawing and just making art all of the time. My grandma was an artist, and so I spent a lot of time drawing with her, and she would always come to my art shows and stuff. It was really interesting. My early life, I spent a lot of time creating art, and then as I got a little bit older, later elementary, early middle school, my attention and focus shifted way more towards sports. Right. Because that's what my dad wanted.
Right.
And I didn't have any complaints about it, but I kind of stopped drawing. I did a little bit here and there, but I still like loved art. And my grandma passed away while I was in, I think, either late elementary or early middle school. And so, you know, the presence of art wasn't as strong as the presence of sports, because my dad like loved tennis, loved that I played basketball. He was my coach for both, so
that makes sense.
Art was always there. And I think that, you know, if as a kid I had been more self-aware, I probably would have chosen to do more art in my life. But I was always drawn and stuff, and I remember when I was 12, I had an interaction with somebody with tattoos that I was like, oh man, those are really cool. And then from that point on, I was like, I have to have tattoos, you know. So every once in a while, I would like draw one up and, you know, just come up with something. And then after high school, so not playing sports, you know, me and my dad had this conversation where I was like, yeah, sports aren't my focus. That's not what I'm going to do. And he knew that too. We kind of decided that in high school.
Right.
And he supported me. But then after high school, I like needed some sort of outlet, and art kind of came back up, and I started drawing while I was traveling and stuff.
It was like a latent love kind of.
Yeah. I spent a lot of time alone while I was traveling, and I just had all these like ideas in my head and had to put them somewhere, and got back into it.
That's a big conversation to have and be like, hey, Pops, like, this isn't my thing.
Yeah.
I'm good at it. I like it, but this isn't my thing. Like, was that...
It was really hard. I will never forget it, because I had to do it twice. In high school, I played tennis and basketball, and I quit basketball after my freshman year because I didn't like the coaches. I was on this team for a year. They couldn't remember my name. You know, I had some of the highest defensive stats on our team,
right.
And they swung another kid onto JV because he had higher points than me.
Right.
Which, for anybody who plays sports, defense is so important. So, you know.
No doubt.
I was the best defender on the team, and they just did not pay attention to it, and they didn't know my name at the end of the year. They sat me down, called me Jordan, and showed me my stats, and I was like, this doesn't matter anyway, I'm not coming back. And I remember I actually went to my mom first because I was so nervous to talk to my dad. And I was like crying talking to my mom because I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. Like, this is so scary. And she was like, he's going to understand. He's going to understand. And I remember going down to the basement because that's where my dad like had his little business set up. And I was like, hey, can we just like talk really quick? And he was so sweet. And he was like, yeah, just sit down. You know, kind of like this, honestly, right. Just like right next to him. And he stopped working for just a little bit. And I just told him, I was like, I think I'm done. And, you know, he had his questions. He was like, why? And he kind of already knew. He was a good dad, so he was like, I know.
Intuitive.
He was like, I know, but I want you to tell me.
Right.
And, you know, he just looked at me and he said, hey, if you don't love basketball, then I don't want you to play basketball. He was like, I want you to do what you love, and I'm proud of you, and you put in a lot of hard work and discipline, and you're at the age where you can decide these things, you know. And it was so scary, but I was so thankful I did it. And it shifted my attention more to tennis, which is really what he loved, and I fell in love with tennis too, but not to his level. But yeah, it kind of shifted that too.
Wow, that's an honoring conversation, and it's always like that, isn't it? Like the worst thing you think it could be, mm-hmm. when it's the right person or the right situation, like you're like, oh wow, that was way easier than I thought it was going to be. Yeah, absolutely. I never thought you were going to understand. Yeah, when I hit you with that one.
Yeah, and he was my coach for everything, and he was such a hard ass that, like, you know, so
you're not expecting this big soft dude to come out and be like, hey,
in my my day to day with like my friends and stuff, I was having issues. My dad was so soft and gentle and kind and loving, but you know, on the tennis court or on the basketball court, he was like, you know, just like militant almost. And so there's two sides of him. So when I'm like in sports brain mode, that's who I'm talking to. I'm not talking to this dad guy, but he handled that as dad, not as coach, you know. And I really appreciated that. So it was a really good conversation that obviously I still remember very well. So
that's crazy. And it's hard to give up on, because like the electrician thing, mm-hmm. as an electrician, like that's kind of what it's like. One day you're just like, wow, I'm like not appreciated here at all, and it's like not even worth it for my head and my heart
to continue with this thing, not this way.
Mm-hmm.
And there's so many latent loves and other things that I value and that value me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That I could contribute my time to. So
yeah, absolutely. Which is a lot harder when you're an adult because, you know, a job pays you money.
Bro.
It's like, damn, this isn't bringing me life at all. It's not serving me in any way other than with cash flow, but sometimes you gotta do it.
Yeah,
it's hard.
It's a challenge. Now, why hand-poked tattoos?
Okay, so now we can follow this train of me drawing again after high school to the hand poke thing. So after high school, I traveled, I did a thing called Youth with a Mission, YWAM for short.
Okay.
And
it's a great band, George Michael.
Yeah, I wish it was a band. It was a good experience, but essentially it's all over the world. You can look into it. There's actually a lot of people. Brandon and I go to the same church, and there's a lot of people. Well, maybe not a lot of people. There's a few people at our church who have done YWAM.
Okay.
But it's a missions organization, and I went and did that right after high school, and so I spent 3 months in Hawaii doing a school. It's called the Discipleship Training School, where you just like basically go to church for 8 hours a day. It is wild. And then they send you out on your outreach, which is another like mine was like 3.5 months trip to wherever to, you know, serve and do ministry in some kind of way. And I did a lot of TV video stuff in high school. I went to a trade school part-time for TV video,
right.
Which, you know, I was actually thinking when I got here, I was like, I got some stuff for Brandon, some ideas.
I need them.
Yeah, as far as that goes. So I was traveling around doing TV video stuff, using photography, videography to like, you know, do ministry. It was actually really cool, some of the things that we did. My team, however, was 5 females, all from different places in the world, and all different ages. And so we had this like weird mix of culture, and I had 2 Latinas on my team, and you know, I'm half Mexican, and so there was a lot of like spicy fighting. And we're also in Southeast Asia, which is primarily
Filipino, or
there's a lot of Filipino, but it's I think it's the biggest Muslim country. Like
really?
It has the biggest population, and so they're very strict about like men and women sharing quarters. And so I was alone all the time because I was the only guy on my team. And so I started drawing, you know, to get back to the tattooing. I have ADHD, so context always takes me away from the main point. Anyway,
but you made it back. You're better than I am at it.
Back to the tattooing piece. I spent a lot of time drawing because I was alone. And when I was in Hawaii doing my school, I met another girl who, she had this little like pizza tattoo on her arm that just like kind of looked like shit, but I was like, it's kind of cool though. And she was like, oh yeah, this is stick and poke. And I was like, what does that mean? She was like, oh, I did this with a sewing needle and some ink from the back of a pen. And I was like, I didn't know you could do that. You know, I had one tattoo professionally done, and I was like, I didn't know I could do that. Let me know.
We're back. Hand poking.
Yeah. Okay, so hand poking. So I was traveling. Dude, technology will always work against you. I learned that when I did TV video. There's always going to be something that goes wrong. It is always working against you.
Every time.
All it is like just being prepared for anything to go wrong. That's all it is. Anyway, so hand poking. I was traveling. I spent a lot of time alone, started drawing. And then when I came back home from my travels, my best friend had also been traveling on the other side of the world. And, you know, we were like 18, 19, just super bored. And it's summertime. And I was like, hey, you want a tattoo? And he was like, you don't know how to tattoo. And I was like, yeah, but like I could figure it out. It was like I met this girl and she had this tattoo.
It's the beginning of every bad life choice.
Yeah. I was like, she used a sewing needle and some pen ink, and he was like, dude, you're not doing that. And then I like found this like video on YouTube showing how to do it, and I showed it to him. He's like, dude, no, you're not gonna do that. And then the next day I came over, and he was like, okay, you can do it, but if you don't do it right now, it's never gonna happen.
Right.
And so I went to Hobby Lobby. I bought some sewing needles, some India ink for like a fountain pen, and some like sewing string. Because what you do is you like stick a sewing needle in the back of a pencil, like between the metal part and the eraser. You like take the back end and stick it in there, and then you wrap a bunch of like sewing thread around it, and then you wrap that all the way to the top of the needle so that it holds. It's like an ink well, so it like holds the ink up there, and then you can dip it in the ink.
Right.
And dude, it was so unsanitary, but you know, I gave him this little hatchet on the back of his arm, and it took me so long. And he complained the whole time. And then at the end, he was like, oh, that wasn't so bad. And then, you know, he gave me one. And then me and my friends for a few weeks were just like throwing around stupid tattoos. And eventually, they got over it. You know, it was just like this little fad. Right. And they're like, all right, we're done. And I was like, what do you mean we're done? Like, I don't, what? This is my thing. No, I want to do it more. And they're like, well, you can do it more. You know, and then I tattooed them a little bit more. I met somebody else who did stick and poke, hand poke tattoos. And you'll also hear me use those two words synonymously: stick and poke and hand poked.
Is there a right or wrong?
Stick and poke is just like the dive bar crappy version of hand poke. That's just like the dirty way. Okay. And then hand poke is like the professional way. So when I'm talking about it business wise, I usually say
that's why ChatGPT brought me hand poked, because it was being fancy.
Yeah, exactly. But after that, I like had random people start to reach out, and I loved it. And then eventually, you know, I met through Instagram. I found that there's like a whole world of artists that just do hand poke tattoos, and I came across one in Germany, and he found my page, and I kind of shot some messages back and forth with him, and he eventually was like, hey man, here's a list of supplies that you should buy. He was really cool. I'm pretty sure his handle on Instagram is where the fuck is Connor, and
Unforgettable.
But yeah, he's just in like Frankfurt, Germany, and was like, hey, I like your stuff. And he's like, you using sewing needles? And I was like, yep. And he's like, here, go buy all of this list of supplies and let me know when you do that, and I'll give you some pointers. And you know, he was just super encouraging and supportive, and I went and got all those supplies and got a little bit better. And you know, that was like 9 years ago, something like that. And I've just been adding to my tools and to my practice, and have just grown and grown. And I love stick and poke, and I've used a machine a few times, but there's just something sacred about stick and poke. It's very intimate. It actually heals a little bit quicker, hurts a little bit less, and the market is way less saturated for stick and poke or hand poked artists, because you know there's thousands of people who know how to use a machine, while in Denver there's maybe 10 hand poked artists that I could give to you, but that's it, and I'm one of them. So
talk about lightening it up. That's how you kind of focus and kind of close into your people, your community, your niche, or whatever you want to call it. And the dude taking an interest in what you were doing and helping you like throttle up what you do is kind of a big deal. You know, I had a dude last week, he built me a brand new website for my cleaning company just because he was excited.
Yeah.
You know, he sat here and like for 5 hours, oh, here's a tip, you could do this, you could update that, maybe you should fix that.
Yeah.
And I sent it back, and I'm just picturing him going, how cute.
Yeah.
So he emails me and he's like, send me your password, make me a connector on your thing. And he literally just went back and forth with me and like just probably gave me thousands of dollars worth of work.
That's
this thing just by taking an interest.
I love that. That's really cool. And it's
and it's the stuff that keeps you going. You know what I mean?
Showing some initiative,
right? And
then somebody helps you, and it gives you more, you know, just more fuel to keep going.
Straight up.
Yeah, if people see that initiative in you, they'll oftentimes reach out and want to help, you know, which is so cool. And it's about who you know, not what you know.
Right. Absolutely.
Well, it's good to know some things, but
it's good to know a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, at least be interested in trying to learn a little bit more.
Absolutely.
Oh man, I had a whole train of thought. Oh, so hand poked. See, I'm not much better at flying off the sidelines than you are. I've got 2 experiences that when you said it, I was like, hey, I saw like this Discovery Channel Maori thing or something, and I think it was like a Hawaiian or a Maori thing, and they got like a whole thing that took days, and like she went into some kind of like shock and stuff during the process, and I was like, wow, this is intense.
Yeah.
And the other place I saw those tattoos was, well, not very wholesome.
Yeah. Hey.
I was like, yeah, ink and a couple of things out of and a Walkman. Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah, absolutely. You get your razor and you tear it apart. Take your toothbrush, melt it down a little bit. Guitar strings, dude. I know the whole bit.
Yeah, those ones we'll talk about on another episode.
Yeah.
This too, my homeboy got a tattoo machine and didn't know how to use it at all. His girlfriend got it for him, and he's like, "Hey, bro, can I tattoo you? I've been practicing on my legs." And he's got like stars all over his legs or something ridiculous. And he's like, he hit me with a stencil because his birthday's the day before or after mine, so we're both Virgos. He was like, "I'll just put this on you." And he did. He only dug into me like one really good time.
Yeah, dude. It's actually like usually when people don't know how to tattoo, it's pretty blown out. But that's pretty gentle-handed. Like, that's not
20
bad.
years old.
That's really good, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. Usually that's pretty blown out, but man, it looks great.
That's what happens.
I'm impressed.
A little bit of Jim Beam and whatever else, and get right to it.
That's so crazy. I've done worse than that, so.
But it wasn't hand poked though. It was not hand poked. So you've got coffee, you've got serving students and people, serving God. How do all these things that you do and all these different passions intersect?
Oh man. I mean, the biggest one is people, right? People in every facet of thing that I do. It's
serving in some sense.
Yeah, it's working at Sweet Bloom. I love it, but it's not, it's not my heart. It's not my passion. But the thing that keeps me there is that I have regulars and I have people that I know, and like I keep up with their life, and some of them also keep up with my life and what's going on. And I also don't just see them there. Like sometimes I'll see those people at a city event or at the grocery store, and to be able to like actually know my community and to be like, oh, what's up, Angela? Or like, yeah, just like running into people. Like I met these people at a concert, and they lived in Denver, and just the other day, this is last year I met them, and just the other day they walked in and I was like, Trip, what is up? And he was like, how do I know you? And I was like, we met at that concert last summer. He was like, holy shit, no way, like what? And he was like, we just moved to Arvada. And I was like, sick, I work here, and he's come in a few times, and it's just like this beautiful place for interaction. And I love it because it is in the middle of Arvada, which is where I'm from. It is part of my community, and it is a way of service. Even if it is a business, it's a small business owned by people who I love, and I have people who come in that I actually care about. And it's just so cool. And tattooing for me is just, I mean, you had that episode with the hairstylist. I can't remember her name right now.
Laura Lee.
Laura Lee.
Still Lilac Beauty.
Yeah, and she's talking about, therapists.
Yeah.
And
therapy, yeah.
Therapy, yeah. And that happens to tattoo artists too, It's like people share really intimate, deep stuff with you while they're sitting there because they're already being vulnerable by letting you mark them forever.
True that.
So I've had some pretty wild things shared with me in those spaces, and it is so special to be somebody who's trusted and to be able to, not like Laura Lee said, like not fix them or not, try to give them advice, but just to be with them and hear them and like recognize them and see them where they're at is so special. And to be honest, for me, that is like very much a ministry. That's more what Jesus looks like than a lot of other quote unquote Christian ministries. Like just me being able to create a safe space for somebody to share that and to feel loved and to feel seen and to feel welcomed and wanted back is just so special. And like I just get to create art and tell a story and share stories, and like tattooing, we watch movies sometimes, like we listen to music, we're sharing music back and forth. That space is just so special. I love one-on-one conversations and just time where it's like just me and one other person, and so tattooing is super special. And then as far as people goes with my students, like high school kids, I stepped into working at our church having mostly experienced high school kids and not really working with middle school, but I've learned a lot about middle schoolers, and those guys are so authentic, and they just want to be loved and seen and cared for, and like they're still figuring out who they are, right. You know. And it's beautiful to be there with them and to just like show up and be consistent, because that's all a middle schooler needs, is somebody to just be there to be like, hey, I'm here for you whenever, right. Because I like you. And high school students, I love them because they're a little bit more set in who they are, and they're questioning like, do I like you? You know,
so that interesting dynamic.
Yeah, shift. Yeah. In every training that I've been to or that I've done with youth, is middle schoolers ask the question, do you like me? And high school kids ask the question, do I like you? And both of those are answered with consistency, right? Because if you show up to a high schooler's like sports game or play or concert enough times, they're gonna realize like, oh, I do like you because you're consistent. You're there. You care.
Yeah.
Even if you're like not the coolest person ever, and it just takes consistency, and I love that. And high school kids especially, they're like just like the perfect clay where they want purpose, and so you're kind of giving them shape, and you're not like, you don't have to force it.
Right.
They want it. And so to just kind of like guide them and push them is a little bit easier because they're already like moving, and you really do just get to walk alongside of them and ask them questions, and they're just so much fun to lead, and they have so much spunk, and they're hilarious and fun, and they have energy,
and they're good. Like even they like, cause my son's smaller, and like the middle school kids and everybody, they just trickle down. So whatever it is like that you do to show up for them, it trickles down.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like when they'll take them under their wing, they'll give them time, and you know, things that normally the big kid wouldn't do.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Which is so different in this place than what I see from other youngsters their age. So it's dope.
Yeah, man. I think like if you talk to any of our youth leaders at the church and ask them why they decided to help out, what they're gonna tell you is that somebody in their life did this for them. And that's like super consistent across the board in so many different organizations, even outside of the church, is when people show up, it creates other people who want to show up, you know. And that's what it was for me, because I told you about the youth pastors when I was in high school, and my young life leaders. Like my young life leader was the one who did mine and my wife's wedding ceremony for us, you know, and I still stay in touch with him, and you know, he's helped me a lot with my business, and I'm so close with him, and I hope that I can be that for my students even in 10 years, you know, because this is somebody who when I was like 15, 16 having girlfriend issues was there, and now like I'm like, bro, I'm trying to start a business, and he's still there, he's still right there,
right.
And I hope that I have students like that in 10 years.
I sense a theme here. So even from that, and then even into adulthood with the guy in Germany taking an interest in showing up.
Yeah.
You know, and the guy, for me, the random guy just showing up. You know, Low Big Ink, by the way, SEO, marketing guy, dope. But people consistently showing up. Like, people that, like, this guy plays a mandolin and does these other things and is not necessarily somebody that it would seem like I would relate to. But then based on a conversation about, you know, family and dynamics and whatever while I'm cleaning his house.
Yeah.
He stops and says, hey, come here, sit down for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at your website right here.
Yeah.
What's going on? It's just those organic situations just kind of take care of themselves.
Yeah.
And you pretty much answered the next question that I had, which was, what impact do you hope to have on the kid? Or maybe not. You kind of told me how it goes, but what is the lasting impact that you would hope to have on them, and or what is the impact that they have on you?
Oh man, those are great questions. The impact that I want to have. This one's hard because it is honestly, I feel like, shifted and changed a lot over the past few years, because I grew up in a very, very evangelical setting. Okay. So it was very much about like, go save the world, go save the nations, which is really hard for me because that turned into me carrying the weight of the entire world's salvation on my shoulders.
Right.
And feeling like every interaction that I had to have with somebody was about
like a mission.
Was to save their soul. You know, even one of my best friends, who isn't a Christian, like he called me out for that. He was like, "Hey, when I told you that I wasn't a Christian, like you started to treat me differently," and that was like a dagger to my heart. And so, over just the past few years, I've kind of shifted, and it's not about like giving these kids salvation. If I have a student who is like, hey, I want to give my life to Christ, I'm absolutely going to celebrate with them, and I'm going to encourage them to get baptized, and I'm going to pray with them, and I'm going to love them. Even if a kid doesn't believe in Jesus, doesn't believe in God, I'm still going to pray around them. I'm still going to teach them the Bible, because that's brought me so much life, and I think that it can do that for them. But ultimately, my goal is not to bring them salvation. My goal is to look like Jesus in front of them and to be there for them and to just hold them with open hands and to make them feel loved, safe, and seen, and to encourage them in the things that they're doing and to just be there. And here's one thing that is crazy about the church, capital C, big church,
right,
is that they oftentimes want the rest of the world to shut down and just focus on the church or their religion. The reality is, when I'm working on my business, when I'm being a barista, like, that's also for my students, because they get to see how I live my life. Not as just like youth pastor Jadon. I'm just Jadon, and I am a barista, and I'm a tattoo artist, and I am figuring out how to build a bus, and I'm a husband, and I'm a friend. Like, all of those things, I have to do them because that is also part of me. Like, my life is all encompassing of those things. I'm not just a youth pastor when I'm a youth pastor, and I want my kids to know that too.
Right.
So it's my hope is to just give them space in my life. I just want you to find what brings you life. Look at how that affects your heart. Like, how did God create you? What did he create you to do? Are you good at art?
Right.
Are you super smart? We have a kid who's like rocket scientist smart. Like, are you like him? We have another gal who's she's going to be a senior this year, and I think she's going to go to college for engineering. It's like, did God create you to do that? Does that bring you life? You know, kind of like this idea that we're talking about. You're like, being an electrician doesn't bring you life, right? But being creative, having these conversations does.
Right.
And I want to guide kids in that. Like, what were you created to do? It doesn't have to be a missionary, work at a church for the rest of your life. It's like, no, whatever you do it wholeheartedly and look for the Lord in that. So I just want to like live with them and show them how I live. Not that I live perfectly, but I have hope in something, and I have something that guides me and that does feel like a firm foundation, and I want that for them.
Yeah, and there's intention with it.
Yeah, there's intention. And I don't need them to call themselves a Christian.
Yeah.
If they do, like, I'll celebrate with them, and I'll, you know, when they're in college and they're deconstructing their faith, like, I will be there. And if they deconstruct out of it, I'll be sad for them, and I'll continue to treat them the exact same and love them exactly how they are, because that's what we're meant to do, you know?
Absolutely.
And I think the way that they've impacted me is just being hyper aware of of how I live, because, you know, they're
accountability a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit, which it's not like, you know, it's not like they're at my job all the time. It's not like any of them have even...
But there's the opportunity that you know somebody that you care that, in a sense, may or may not emulate or see you. It's a responsibility.
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe not accountability, but there is a responsibility.
Yeah, I want to show up the same at Sweet Bloom as I do at my youth group. And I want people to recognize that, maybe, not for my own sake, but because I want that integrity. You know? Because it's just, Jadon is Jadon, whether he's tattooing, whether he's at Sweet Bloom, or whether he's at youth group. And I mean, for me personally, all of that is rooted in my faith. And I try to make it that way. And it's not easy, but it does help me with integrity for sure. And I mean, these kids transform me in ways that they like ask questions that will ruin me for a week, you know.
Just wreck you.
They'll throw a question out there and I'm like, oh, that's so good, but I don't...
Why are you profounded?
Yeah, I'm like...
14.
Like, you're 13? That's crazy that you just said that out loud. Let me think about it for a week. And then I come back and I'm like, I don't know, but that's a dope question. You know? And they, I mean, just like knowing that there's hope and seeing change happen amongst, you know, our generations. Like this generation, I think it's Gen Alpha at this point, they like their phones, they like technology, but it is not their world.
Right.
Like, it is not their world. And every adult,
you hear that, people?
Yeah, every adult is like, oh man, this next generation and their screens. No, that's my generation. That's Gen Z. We have an issue with phones. Gen A is like, all right, yeah, we like screens. We see the value. We understand it, but it's not serving us. Which
interesting.
It is interesting.
And you see it firsthand, because the rest of us are still stuck on Gen X, thinking, oh man, these kids are screwed. What's going to happen with the world? You actually get to see that light.
Yeah.
That the potential that's coming down the pipe that the rest of us don't really see till it happens.
At least the like 20 kids that we have at our church, like they're doing all right. And they've got good parents, so maybe that's what it is. But I mean, ultimately, honestly, I think that like it's not like they're detached. Like they haven't thrown their phones away, and it's not like I have to not yell at them to get off their phones, and I'm teaching sometimes. But they genuinely have an understanding of like, this is not serving me, and I don't think that they're all addicted to it.
Right.
And they all have a desire for it. They all want it. Like I have some students who don't have a phone yet, and they're like, oh, I can't wait to get a phone. And it's like, yeah, of course, that's a teenager thing.
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, the kids just teach me so much. They ask big questions. They challenge me. They make me learn how to be patient. How to respond well, and yeah, just keep that integrity. You know, they'll teach you so many things, and they're just so creative, and they're so funny and fun, and man, we have a really cool community of students at Restoration too, which is cool. Yeah, they're tight knit, so I can talk about them forever, to be honest.
Well, we've got a whole nother half. But in the meantime, this is the part of the show where we break in the action and hand the reins over to my guest. This is what we call free time, and Jadon gets to choose how we spend the next few minutes. You may have heard about this, and it's ultimately the most ridiculous thing you will probably ever be involved in. You get the options of 1, we can do a freestyle rap or poem where we either pick a subject or a beat. And we go ahead with that. 2, we could do a mini skit. Again, we pick a subject or a setting and improvise the skit based on that. Also, I've added a dealer's choice. If you've got an idea, I am willing to participate in not almost, but absolutely anything. And for the shy types, we've got rapid fire questions.
I mean, I'm down for a skit. I want to know what this skit's about. I've been thinking about it.
Okay, you're bold. I'm proud of this because it's been a minute. So we're about to figure that out. Stay tuned. It may have been a mistake to grab a mic again. I'm finally facing my demons and feeling right again. No lie, embracing the truth about who I really am. Let's never let mediocrity. Welcome back, folks, to Free Time. Jadon here is my tattoo artist, and I'm back to fix our relationship after he did a bad tattoo on me from a couple of years ago. It's pretty bad, Jadon. I mean, you did my ex-girlfriend's name upside down. Yeah, and I'm not with her anymore either.
Oh my gosh. Okay, well, the second part, that's on you. I guess the whole thing's on you, but where...
Including the tattoo.
Where exactly is it on you? I don't remember. It's been too long.
Well, it's right here above my back. It's a... What is that called? A license plate? A tramp stamp?
Oh, let me see it. Oof. It's not that... It's really not that bad. Is the mirror you're looking in upside down?
I think... Oh, was it the mirror? No, because the guy I met... Okay, here's what happened, Jadon. So, I went to join a biker gang. And they said that I was supposed to get a rocker. There's a back tattoo. But then, when I showed them my back, they said, why does your back say Illuminati upside down? And I said, well, I knew this girl named Illuminati. And she was... So I got her name tattooed on me after 6 days when we were in Spain drinking ayahuasca.
You... Okay.
Then I came to you.
This tattoo, I mean, looking at it, it's fine. It looks like my needle depth was great. It's healed up perfectly fine. There's no scabbing, I can tell. But let's just go back to the part where you decided to go on a date with a girl named Illuminati. You know, maybe your decision-making skills aren't as peak as they once were.
Jadon, we're not talking about my decision-making skills. We're talking about your tattooing skills.
But that's got to start somewhere.
And I'm trying to repair this relationship, which is going to require some accountability.
Well, I mean, those are some pretty bold letters, but we could try to blast over it if you want.
Definitely.
I've got this butterfly. It look really cool down there. You know, we could also just we could leave it there, and then we could put a mom heart over the top of it, and you would just tell people your mom's name is Illuminati.
Maminati.
A Maminati.
Or could we put a circle around it with with a mark through it, like a no zone?
Yeah, that's perfect. Bad Illuminati.
Bad Illuminati. Ooh, or better yet, how about if I do the right eyeball symbol or something, won't they come looking for me? And then if they draft me into the Illuminati and I become one of the elite, then the tattoo will be justified. But it's upside down.
Okay, now we're back to the decision-making skills. You know, just as a fellow citizen, just as a friend, maybe make a better decision than that one.
Now, maybe I should have had you around back when me and Illuminati got together.
Yeah, probably. I don't know, but I don't know if I would have been around wherever that was in the first place.
God, this is off the rails. I don't know why I even bothered with this. Well, now we've figured out that it's Illuminati, and we're either going to cross it out or I'm going to become a member. I can't become a member because Jadon is my conscience. And now that I think about it, it wasn't a girl named Illuminati. I read that book, that Robert Langdon book, and it's got Illuminati, but it's an anagram. So it's really the same, either direction.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So you didn't make a mistake.
Wow, thank you. I appreciate that.
Definitely was high.
Yeah. Again, decision-making skills.
Moral of the story. Make better.
You need a youth bastard in your life. Or you needed one. You might be too far gone.
I needed
now.
one. Now I just need Jesus. God, that's perfectly ridiculous. I'm sure we're going to have a ball with that. Well, we're back from that debacle. And Jadon, I want to show you my appreciation because you're only the second person to participate in a skit during a free time segment. So that makes you pretty much one of the boldest men alive.
Well, it wasn't going to be a rap, I'll tell you that much. There's one thing in this world I can't do. It is rap.
And that's the reason it's going to be a rap next time.
Which is so funny because I love rap, but I cannot rap to save my life.
And you guys should know that he's one of the reasons that we did a Dear Kendrick in the first part of this. Actually, now that I think of it, Jadon's been a catalyst in a couple of my bad life choices lately besides the tattoo. The other one is running that boulder. So you said to me that day at church, bro, you were like, hey, I called my buddy and I said, we're running the boulder. And I'm like, oh, that sounds like a great idea. I'm going to do that. Like, I didn't even say it out loud to you, I don't think, but I was like, yeah, I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
And
you told me later. You were like, oh, yeah, I'm going to do that too. And I was like, oh, sick.
Yeah. Yeah, that's probably the face you should have had too, because it was like,
yeah.
I was like, I didn't know what I was getting into.
That's so funny. Hey, but you did it.
I did.
You did it.
And it's all your fault.
Yeah, which it was a blast. I know you. I hope you had fun.
I did. No, I had a ball. I had fun. And like, I'm one of those people that like, if I accomplish a thing, I don't really care if it hurts.
Okay, that's good.
Like, I'm good.
All right, that's good. I
accomplished it and it got done. And like, I'll do it better next time. Next time I'll train. Like,
yeah, dude. Maybe we should race next year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, there you go again. Pointing me towards more bad life choices. But I'm not doing it with a broken foot, and I'm actually going to train.
Or, I mean, maybe your next bad decision is going to be like a half marathon.
Oh, God.
And then by next year, I'll get you to do a full marathon.
I thought about... I don't know if I'd go any far past a half marathon. And I don't know if I'd do that. Because that 10K was brutal.
You just got to train for it. You just got to get your body there.
Yeah, that was pretty brutal. Okay, where were we?
The hub.
Oh, okay. Now that you gave me a chance to laugh at us a little bit. We've got a lot in common. You and I, same church, same heart for service. Though I've got about 15 more years of mileage on me. Let's talk about tension between being sort of an unorthodox follower of Jesus. When people think tattoos, when people think me and maybe the places that I picked up seeing those tattoos, they might have sort of a notion or an idea about you or what you are. What's it like trying to navigate ministry while expressing yourself in ways that some Christians might consider unorthodox or different?
Oh, man. That's a fun one.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. No. I love it for sure. It's something that I think about often. One of the things, so the reason that I love tattoos, when I was probably around 12, I remember somebody came to my church who, he had tattoos. He had a lot of tattoos. Mm-hmm. And I remember that there were some folks in our congregation who were like upset that he was there and that his tattoos were out and that he didn't have long sleeves on covering him up. And I remember asking my parents, I was like, why is that such an issue, you know? And they're like, well, the Bible says not to have tattoos, and it's just like you need to dress nice on Sunday to be at church, you know? That's the kind of church I grew up in. Very conservative, very much like you wear a suit and tie on Sunday.
Like you said, it was
yeah
very evangelistic.
Very evangelical.
Or whatever the word.
And so, you know, and my parents were not people who like looked down on people with tattoos, but there were other people in the congregation, and I was confused because I was like, oh, that seems weird. Like, why does that matter?
Right.
You know? And then as time went on, I kind of like looked it up, and sure enough, in Leviticus like 19, I think it says something about don't tattoo yourself for the dead. And then like 2 verses later, it also says don't cut the sides of your hair. Right. And then it says like don't eat food that you haven't grown yourself. Don't wear clothes that are made up of 2 different types of materials.
The list just got longer.
Literally, I'm pretty sure in Leviticus 19, the same chapter where it says don't get tattooed, it also says don't wear polymer cloth. So if you wear polyester and you're a Christian who says that tattoos are bad, then you have to toss all of your polyester clothes. So just saying.
Just saying.
But also, P.S. You're covered by all these laws have been fulfilled because of Jesus. So you're all good.
Wow.
Anyway, after that, I remember having that connection of like, oh, okay, and I started really paying attention paying attention to people with tattoos, and they were always great. Like, they were always kind. Some of them, sure, had like rough backgrounds, some crazy stories that went with them, but they were always kind people. And I was like, this doesn't mean anything to me. And then also kind of coming from like an evangelical standpoint, I had this idea in my mind that like by getting tattooed, I could reach people who might not know Jesus, you know, might not have experienced who he is because I look like them.
Right.
Which at this point I'm like, I don't care. Like, at this point, I think that the people who need Jesus are most likely in the church without tattoos. So, you know, it's a weird, it really is a tension, you know. And so I have people that ask me about tattoos specifically sometimes, and I just tell them, like, yeah, that's an old Levitical law that's been fulfilled and also was very much like a pagan practice of tattooing yourself in like a literal pagan ritual to either mourn the dead or like attempt to bring the dead back to life. We don't really know what it was for, but it like was essentially along the lines of witchcraft because they're marking themselves for these people who have passed. Okay. So it's very niche, very specific, you know. I don't think that like my little wheat tattoo is gonna make Jesus angry, and if it is, then I don't know, he should toughen up, I guess. And then I think like just other parts too, like my language isn't the cleanest, but I am also aware of when I use language, you know, like I'm not using it while I'm teaching on a Wednesday night.
Right.
And I try not to use it in front of my students, unless it's, you know, we're playing games and I'm like, damn,
right,
bummer, you know, whatever.
And there's like conviction, like that's what I notice a lot of the time. Like if I look at myself and where I was, say 10, 15 years ago to where I am now, like if you knew me and you heard a couple of cuss words and a moment of anger out of me now, if you saw me 10 years ago, you would have truly despised me. You know what I mean? And that's all through the strength of God. You know, like God brought me this far and is still working on me.
Yeah.
You know, to do different. And exactly like you said, like it's not intentional. Like, hey, I'm going to be flamboyant and super different and gangster because I think it's going to bring people to Jesus. Yeah. It's that this is me. Yeah. And there's people like me that might sense this or might gravitate towards this based on the fact that, you know, I'm sort of like them, or I've been where they've been, or I've seen what they've seen. And I like to lose the ugliness, but I don't want to lose myself.
Yeah, it's authentic.
Yeah.
And authenticity always is that draws people in, you know, and it gives something for people to attach to. And that doesn't mean that like we're being authentic in order for people to then like come meet Jesus. It's just like, no, I'm being authentic so we can connect with each other, and that's it.
And I happen to
follow Jesus. And if you want to know about it, like I'll tell you.
Right.
But that's not my MO here. My MO is like I'm choosing to live like Jesus, and if that makes you curious, great. But I'm going to be authentic. Right. And I think specifically there too, like with the idea of language, you know, I went to this Bible study, I don't know, maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago at this point, that I got invited to. These dudes who I didn't really know, it was a regular at Sweet Bloom. He was like, hey, do you have like a group of dudes that you do a Bible study with? And I was like, no. And this guy was nice enough. He used to be a youth pastor. And so I said yes, and I went. And I like just met them. We just went to a bar, got some beers, so I could like kind of get to know him before we did the Bible study. And I never went back after that. We just didn't jive. But in that conversation, I was being authentic. You know, I was using my language. I wasn't like swearing every other word, but I wasn't like cleaning it up. I'm with a group of dudes that are like grown ass men in their 30s, and one of them like stopped me at one point and was like, hey, can I ask you a question? I was like, yeah, sure. And he's like, why, as a Christian, why are you okay with why are you okay with cursing? Why are you okay with swearing? And the thing that I told him was, I don't ever swear at people. I don't use my language to put people down. And the words that have hurt me most in my life have come from religious people. And they're not swear words.
Right.
they're manipulative and they are damning and condemning words that are not swear words. But if I say that I fucking love Star Wars, I mean it.
Right.
Like, I love Star Wars.
Putting some emphasis.
Yeah, and like, why does that hurt you? You know what I mean? Like, that's just, I'm not trying to hurt you. I'm not doing anything wrong. I'm talking about this thing that I love.
Right.
And if you love Star Wars, let me know. Like, I want to talk about Star Wars. I want to talk about the things that I love. Like, it's so lost if we think that being this clean cut, straight edge person is what it means to follow Jesus, to be like him, you know. But he wants us to show up authentically. And there are things in my life that where I've said like, oh yeah, I'm gonna be this way because it's like edgy, and then later I felt, you know, a little bit of conviction about that, you know, and I've changed it, and that's just how my life has kind of gone. And like, there are things that I'm like, okay, I have new convictions about things. I had a friend the other day, she was like, man, can I lose my salvation if I just keep sinning? And I was like, I was like, if you can, then I've lost mine already. So like, we're screwed. And she was like, but how can I like just know that I have my salvation? And I was like, dude, you're never going to rid yourself of sin, because even at this point in my life, like, there are sins that I have dropped that are gone, and I'm finding new ones. You know, it's not this matter of like, okay, I'm going to clean myself entirely of every imperfection. It is, no, I'm gonna stumble through this until I get to the end. And I don't think that Jesus cares if I have tattoos. I don't care if I don't think he cares if I swear every once in a while. I don't think he cares if I watch a scary movie. I don't know. There's just so many things that get lost that are so unimportant, you know. And I think genuinely people miss out on it. Yeah. You know, they kind of close doors to people, to connections, by saying like, oh, like, please don't swear. You know, it's like,
and you almost miss the message in a sense. Like,
yeah,
it's like if you get so caught up on these things, like you said, you miss the humans. You never know when you might be entertaining that angel or whatever the case may be. These podcasts are an example. Like, I've had everybody on here, and every conversation in some sense, with me and you, it's much more obvious because, you know, we share a like-minded faith, but every single conversation somehow ends up on some lighthearted God talk, or somebody saying, yeah, you know, this or that, or got to get a power of this, or I don't believe in this, or I do believe in this, which I think is healthy. Yeah. You know what I mean? And the idea is to kind of have a space where people can talk or not agree, or realize that, you know, if you sit down with somebody and give them a few minutes, you'd be surprised what comes out on the other end. And I'm always reminded, like, my desires are different than they were. There's that psalm, I'm terrible at memorizing stuff, but I think it's like 34 or something, where it's like, God's going to change the desires of your heart. And it's not that he's going to make you lily white. What happens is just naturally something in you is different. Like, I'm convicted about things, you know, not language, but if I use the language foul or angry, or what I'm proud of is, like, you know, when I look at a woman or where my mind goes in that time, like, those are the things that I notice. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I said 8 cuss words today, but that was different because you looked straightforward. You said hello with no intention. You did like it's a world of difference when the desire of your hearts are actually different. Yeah. And it really makes a tattoo or a cuss word or a guy that you don't agree with or a party really pointless. Yeah. You know what I mean? And you're like, who gives a crap about that? But what about this? What about this victory?
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? This big thing.
One thing too that I think like gets lost, just in general, in the church, I think big time, but even just in our culture, is that conviction doesn't feel like guilt. Right. Like, not always. Sometimes conviction and guilt feel the same, right? Like, you know, you do something wrong, you feel a little bit guilty about it. Conviction can also just feel like realizing that there's a better choice. Even like, today's a great example. I knew that I was going to be here. I knew that I was going to have to be up a little bit earlier, like getting all my stuff done in the day than I usually am, and I'm not a morning person. We had friends over last night for drinks.
Appreciate that. I made them come early.
Yeah, that's all right. I'm happy to be here. And we had friends come over for drinks. I love to make cocktails, but lately drinking just like, it makes me feel gross. It makes me like have just like foggy brain, can't think straight. It makes me anxious. And I knew that I was going to have a conversation with you today. Mm-hmm. And that I was going to have to be up a little bit earlier. And I know that if I drink, it makes it harder to get up. Even if I have one, you know? And so my conviction is not like, ooh, alcohol is bad and like I can't ever have it or else it's going to ruin my life. It was, my conviction is that I want to have a good conversation with Brandon. I want to be able to get up quicker in the morning and I want to feel good throughout the day and I don't want to be anxious.
Right.
And it wasn't like I'm not demonizing it. I love alcohol. I think it's so tasty. It's fun to play with. It's fun to make drinks and like try new things. It's great. And it's good to celebrate with. Like it is a wonderful thing. But my conviction is that like I wanted to have this connection and I want to feel alert and aware, right? And so I had like literally a fourth of a cocktail because I was like, I can have this. I know I can enjoy it. It's not going to ruin me tomorrow. And that is not just last night. That is how my life has been for the past few months. It's like I don't need a ton of sugar. Right. I've cut out a lot of sugar and I've cut out a lot of alcohol, not because I'm like trying to be healthy. Well, I guess it is because I'm trying to be healthy, but because it makes me feel good, because I'm more aware. And I feel like if you really break it down, it just makes me more aware of what I believe to be God around me. And I can see that better and I can experience him more clearly and his kingdom that is already here. I can experience that more clearly. And who wouldn't want that? You know, so for me, it's like, it's not at all putting anybody down for that. And I'm like, if you can drink a cocktail or two and feel great in the morning, like, good on you. I'm so jealous. That sounds wonderful. But I can't. And that's okay. And like, I will sit across from you and I will have I'll have a Coke while you have your thing. And you know, if I had sugar in the day, I'll probably just have a glass of water instead, or a Diet Coke while you have your cocktail.
It's funny because those are exactly two things. Like sugar, I think it may have to do a little bit with age and just that I'm more in tune with my body. That makes it just like less attractive. But and also not having booze for a while because I'm kind of the opposite spectrum. I'm a drunk, so I don't drink. But I've quit before and this and that and the other, and like knowing that it's actually been lifted is totally different than any time before that I've been sober for a year or so, for a year and a half. Like now, I don't drink. Whatever I partake in or this or that, that anybody else, that's on me and that's my judgment. But that booze will never cross my lips, and I can say that confidently. Yeah. And then on the other note, like people are almost uncomfortable when I say that because they think I'm judging them based on their drink. I love alcohol. I think it's a cool thing, and if you can handle it, great for you, but I can't. But that doesn't mean that I can't come out and hang out with you. That doesn't mean that I don't do music trivia at a bar every Monday night. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because now I know that I'm clear of it. You know, I probably couldn't have pulled that off before, and it almost kind of leaks into friendships. Like people don't want to hang out with me, but it's not because of me anymore. Now it's like almost their own conviction. Like it's like, I don't want you to not drink. I just want you to be my friend. Yeah. You know what I mean? Just show up despite whatever the case is, and it's all good. And I think people kind of get a weird sense of that, like they have to tiptoe in a situation just because you decide to make a decision.
Yeah. Absolutely. No, I totally agree. And I think too, like an encouragement for anybody who listens is that if you're a Christian or if you're not a Christian, maybe sometimes that like conviction you feel of like, oh man, I always feel like crap after this, or like I'm going to make this better decision for myself. That feeling in your heart, like who's to say that that's not your creator putting that conviction there? It's not a bad thing. Like the creator that I believe in created you for wholeness and to enjoy the world around you, to enjoy the creation that he gave you. And so when you feel those things, like it is not out of like spite. It is not out of control. It is out of, man, I want you to enjoy this good thing, you know? And so like while we're talking about conviction and as far as like my faith goes, to bring it all the way back is like, that's what it is it's goodness. Like I want to experience wholeness and
yeah.
fullness and be able to enjoy it. And if that means like I gotta say no to cocktails more, great, I'm there, you know, and I'll go do a trivia with you and I'll have a Diet Coke. Like, that sounds great.
What would you say, since you're a youth pastor, what would you say to older people trying to understand younger people and younger people trying to understand older people? Because I think you get a better idea of that dynamic than others.
Yeah. Youth pastors often are the bridge there, which is fine. I would say they're just like you. Their world is different. Their context is different compared to what your context was when you were a kid. But they're just like you. They just want people to show up. And if you're, you know, if you're awkward, if you're not cool, they don't care. They just want you to be there. And I mean, just like any community, if you continue to show up, you're going to get to know people, right? Like, you and I we've gone to the same church for years. And it wasn't until this year that you and I sat down and had a conversation. And that's okay. I don't think that either of us failed in any means, right?
Yeah.
Like, we just showed up. And then the time came where we sat down and met, right? And I think that's what students need is like, yeah, sure, they're kids, they're hooligans. Their frontal lobe is not developed, and they're gonna make stupid decisions. And that's okay. You did that too once. And that's also okay. So let them do that and just be there and love them and encourage them. And for students, I would say the same thing. Like, yeah, old people think that they know it all, and the reality is they don't, and neither do you. And I think that's honestly important for both groups. Is
You
like,
can almost say the same thing to both.
yeah, you think you know everything.
Their
and you
frontal
don't.
lobe's completely done, except they still don't know it all.
Their frontal lobe is completely done, which makes it a whole lot harder to teach them anything else.
They're just way more hard-headed
Yeah.
and stuck in their ways, so give them some grace too.
Exactly. They're so stubborn. So yeah, I think it's just like consistency, you know.
And I said that just because earlier you were talking about showing up. You know what I mean? And it is almost that simple. It's like when we had this little computer trouble. Have you tried turning it off and back on again? You know, have you tried just being there and, you know, not necessarily having to put your opinion or put your idea out there and just showing up? And like, I treat it as a learning experience because, like I said, I've got 3 other kids that I don't have the opportunity to be there with.
Yeah.
And I know that it's not necessarily the greatest effect, you know. So I envy the opportunity to even be around kids at our church and to try to affect, you know, the son that I have here. But I don't, if they ever hear this, want them to feel neglected, like the intent's not there. You know what I mean? There's always a door wide open, and there's gonna be a chance to show up. And at this point, it's just about building something that's safe.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? A safe place to land whenever that time comes.
Yeah.
And that's all we need from each other. It's not just from kid to adult or from person to person or from race to race or whatever. Sometimes you just show up and try to be open-minded.
Yeah.
And you'll get more out of it than you give. Almost every time.
Oh yeah.
Almost every time.
Yeah. Well, hey, we'd love to have you anytime at our youth group events. I'd love for you to be around our students.
Yeah.
You're a person I would love for them to look up to, so.
When it comes to church folks embracing artists and creatives and what people might consider outsiders, it's a constant struggle. What advice would you give? It's probably going to be the same.
Oh no, I've already got ideas.
Oh, okay, good. What advice would you give to people trying to embrace, you know, artists and creatives and folks like us?
Yeah. If you have a hard time accepting artists in your church community, you are rejecting the prophets of our age. Your Bible is full of prophets, full of prophetic word. Those are artists. Those are poets. And this is such a huge passion of mine at this point in life. like massive, and it's something that I have been researching and like digging, and it's the reason why I push for art at our church so much. Oh man,
I'm really glad I asked this question.
Oh, he just opened up Pandora's box right now. We just had a meeting at church last night, and let me tell you, when they were like, we need a choir, I was like, bro, we don't need a choir, we need artists, like just art, because art is just so connected to God. So here's what I believe about artists. I think artists live, they quite literally mimic God by taking the unseen, an idea that's unseen, not physical, and then they make it physical. They are literally acting as lowercase g gods. They are creating something, right? But in order to do that, you have to tap into a world outside of your own. You have to tap into something outside of yourself, which for you and I is what we would call the Holy Spirit, right? The Holy Spirit speaks to us. God gives us these ideas through the Holy Spirit. And I mean, to be honest, this is something that I believe about the whole world, is that God is interacting with all artists, even the ones who aren't Christian. He's like, hey, here's this. Now what they choose to do with that, I think, shows where they lie. But for Christian artists specifically, number one, I don't believe that there is Christian art. Art can't be Christian. An artist can be Christian. A painting cannot be a Christian.
Good point.
So trying to like make things that are, you know, clean or, you know, just like kitschy, campy, whatever, I think is doing art an injustice, because having a talented artist who's connected to God, connected to the Holy Spirit intentionally, is giving a voice to God in a different way, right? Like even Ryan on Sunday, our pastor Ryan, he's taking this idea that's unseen, and he's taking all these ideas that are unseen, he's turning it into a sermon, which is an art in and of itself. He's a writer. He probably, I don't know if he would say that. I hope he would.
I hope
think
he
he's
would.
really good at it.
As you feel about art, I feel about words. Like it's to create something from nothing in any capacity. Absolutely. Is an act of God.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So just like for the people who have a hard time understanding artists, or people who feel on the fringes like that, just know that like we and they are the people who are probably living in that connection with the divine at all times. Mm-hmm. Like when artists are trying to create things, like we're about to put up a new installation in our lobby, and there are things that are going to, there's images, right? There's also some poems, and they're not saying Jesus. They're just showing an image that I hope can connect people in a deeper way, right? Like it deepens your faith, because there's just this, it just hits something inside of you that is intangible, because it came from something intangible, right? So for the people who struggle, it's like, those guys are the ones that you should listen to. Those are your prophets. Those are the ones who are telling you about the time in front of you, just like they were thousands of years ago. In the Old Testament, all the Old Testament prophets, like that's what they were. They were this little voice that everybody was like, oh, that weirdo's been locked up in his room all day. Right. Yeah, because he's been in communion with God. Right. And it turns out those prophecies were true, and they were so important to those people at the time, right? And it's like, those people still exist. Just because Jesus came doesn't mean that we don't still have people who are in touch with God, hearing from him and sharing his desires for us, right? And so, yeah, just listen to them. Give them space. And most of them are going to be introverts. That's how artists are. I'm just a special case where I love to talk and I love to be with people. But just like students, give them time, be around, show interest, ask questions, and look for deeper meaning. Like, challenge yourself, you know? I think if you just take anything at face value, you're missing out on so much more. You gotta really dig in.
Especially if somebody finds value in it. Like, even if it's a subject that you're not interested in, if a person you care about is interested in it, you may not owe it to them, but you owe it to yourself to explore that interest, because that is their communion. That's their moment of being vulnerable. You know, and some people, as strange as it might be, there's probably a mathematician or somebody that sits there and crunches numbers and looks at this board and finds it just dynamic and interesting and sees something super valuable. And we come up with, you know, Fabiacci's number and this and that and the third, you know what I mean? And then, you know, there's me that can sit here on my knees and think of an idea or make up words off the top of my head that may bring value to somebody else. Like, if you give somebody a shot and just put yourself in their shoes about that weird thing that you're into, or that awkward moment when people were looking at you and not really feeling what you were doing, it's almost equally the same.
Yeah,
definitely.
Absolutely. And I think too, like, that vulnerability aspect is huge. Maybe you haven't experienced this, but it's something I know I have, and I know that other people have experienced this as well, where you look at an image or like a piece of art and you feel understood, and you don't know why. You can't put words to it. There's nothing that it's saying directly to you, but you just feel understood. You feel connected, right? Like, how important is that, to have something to connect to people without having to say anything?
Right.
Like, it's hard, and it's vulnerable, and it's so beautiful. And I think that, like, when you make that connection, that is a divine one, you know?
And the whole world could find you as a person awkward or weird or strange or tattooed up, but somebody on the other side of the world that's totally different could look at your art and understand it.
Absolutely.
And understand you, even though they would see you and not see it.
Yeah, and that's what I would say to all of my artist friends too, is like, just don't put yourself down, don't put your art down. Your art is valuable, you are valuable. It feels vulnerable, and it is, but vulnerability breeds vulnerability, and that always leads to growth and to healing. And so keep making art, and it is so important. I think more now than ever. I think that, you know, over the past 100 years, art has gone through, oh my gosh, so many changes, so many things, just like worldwide, and has lost a lot of intention. And I think a lot of, like, you know, there's so much art around us, and even advertisements look like art, right? That it just becomes
streamlined,
less important.
And AI and
it becomes less about, like, the story you're telling, or rather the stories that are being told are like, if you have this product, your life's gonna be perfect, you know, or like, you know, screw this politician or that politician, or just the narratives that come with art these days are not bringing people any growth.
They're not even necessarily of the artist. It's almost like a marketing strategy more than an art.
Yeah, it's so hard because, I mean, there are so many great artists, and I have artists that I love and that I follow, and I think that they are doing good things. But I think that art is not valued by our culture as a large. And for the artists who do value it, I think that great art comes out of that. But I think that our culture is going to have a shift towards the arts, and I think that somebody who is in the church, like, right now, art and the church have to marry each other. Like, the church has to support the arts, because I think that is what is going to change culture. And that's the reality, right? Is that the storytellers are the ones who shape a culture
and perpetuate a culture. You know, there was a time when everything was through oral traditions, or then it was written words, then it was pictures. You know, at some point, everything has got to be, a story has to be told, and it's on creatives and intellectuals and the misunderstood and those that are able to communicate well in order to tell those stories. And they might not look like you, they might not do things your way, but it's an extremely important undertaking.
Absolutely.
And we need each other in that.
Artists are storytellers, and storytellers are the silent leaders. You know, they're not a dictator standing up on a podium yelling at you. They're creating something that tells a story that eventually shapes a culture. You get to fly under the radar in that way, which is kind of nice too.
Which totally wraps into this fairly well. You talked about the pastor, and if he doesn't see himself as an artist, he should. Well, there was a quote that he used, which I think is pertinent to this discussion and to you and I and probably a ton of other people as individuals. It's from a book called The Home of God by a theologian named Miroslav Volf. As a person who takes a somewhat different approach to sharing my faith with others, this quote made me feel a little less alone and also gave me some comfort. Forming human beings according to the pattern of Christ, such that each person and community is able to improvise the way of Christ in the flow of time in anticipation of becoming, along with the entire creation, the home of God.
Ooh. Read that one more time.
Forming human beings according to the pattern of Christ, such that each person and community is able to improvise the way of Christ in flow of time in anticipation of becoming, along with the entire creation, the home of God. What I take from that is that everybody's got a different way of becoming part of the creation story. And some of us improvise it in different ways than others. And that's okay.
Absolutely. I mean, we live in a very dualistic Western civilization where there's a right and a wrong.
Right.
You know, Democrat, liberal. So fun. It doesn't create division at all, does it?
No.
No, but I think, yeah, in reality, like, I think oftentimes truth is more gray. My parents would murder me if they heard that. My dad's in the grave, so he can't hear it. But yeah, I think that there can be multiple truths, and I think that's a really scary thing, especially for Western Christians. But yeah, I think that you're so right. Like, improvising our faith is like it'll look different for people, and that's okay. And we should just be together in that. Exactly. You know, like that's all that I hope for. And I'm not perfect at it. Let me tell you, I have friends right now who are like half stepped out of the church, and I'm like losing my mind, and I don't know what to do about it. And it's scary and hard, but I just keep having to choose to love them and to show up for them in that. And it's hard, but yeah. I mean, that idea of improvising too reminds me of drawing. Like, I put a line down, it might not be the right line. I might have to go back and erase it and put a different line until I get it right, you know. And that piece of art is becoming, and then at some point it finishes becoming, and it has become. But it takes that improvisation of making a mark here and a mark there and erasing and going back and darkening a spot and lightening a spot and moving stuff around, you know. It is following Christ is an art in and of itself, for sure.
Absolutely. And there's some people that won't see it the way you improvise it, but they'll see it the way I improvise it, and vice versa.
Absolutely.
Before we go, is there any burning desire, anything that you would like to share, say?
Oh man.
Advertise?
Yeah, I mean, I think ultimately just want to encourage people to keep showing up, even when you disagree. Even when it's hard to show up, even when you're depressed, even when you're anxious, just keep showing up. And I promise you, you will reap great things from showing up in people's lives. Being part of a community. And also, my favorite podcast is called Makers and Mystics. And they always finish by saying, keep creating, the world needs your art. And I think that that's such an important message, is to keep creating, because the world really does need your art. So yeah, that's it. That's what I got.
Hey, and it's wonderful. I appreciate you. And again, folks, I just want to thank you all for riding with me through 7 and now 8 episodes. And trust me, there's much more on the way. More amazing guests are lined up, including the first recipient of Troy's Toys, our guitar giveaway, Gino, who I hope is brushing up on his guitar chords. We've also got some exciting events coming your way, so stay tuned to all our social media. You can find my man Jadon here at Death for Breakfast on Instagram, where you'll find depth, art, and probably some solid coffee tea inspiration. Before we go, Jadon, I really appreciate you, dog, for showing up.
It's great to be here.
Like we always do about this time, take it light, and it won't ever get too heavy. Be peace, brethren.
For this deadly game that we're forced to play in. Originally it was the sin, bargains with Satan. Worst that could happen before the fall was having some fake friends. Now the betrayal comes from our wives who taught them to hate men. A bunch of kids with no daddies except Benjamin Franklin. Parents divorced or in prison. No wonder we can't make men. It's no surprise to see pricks in high society hate me. Witness the movement of monsters when you try to create me. It may have been a mistake, so grab a mic again. I'm finally facing my demons and feeling right again. No lie, embracing the truth about who I really